Hi, this is Zach Mir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Friday the 16th of May. Starting off with the FTSE 100, which is continuing its post-tariff Trump dip that we had last month, and basically now back in the old range, 8,500 to 89.20, which is the top of the range and the record high. And we're looking for the one-year resistance line, the green one there, as high as 9,000 as a target for the end of next month. While we're above 8,600, we had a key reversal to the upside yesterday, and we followed through on that through recent 8,650 resistance. So as long as we close above that today, looking for the best levels of the year and then the best levels ever towards 9,000. On the downside, expecting nothing lower now than 8,500, or at a stretch, the 50-day moving average 8,470. Next up is the DAX, which I suppose has been leading the way in terms of the upside here, already at record levels above 23,500, and we've been looking for the top of that rising trend channel from March last year. 24,300 as a target for the end of May, and obviously after that we can look for greater glories, and as long as we stay above 23,500. Worst case on the downside, if there is a rug pull, is the top of the previous gap, turn of the month gap there, 22,800. Onto the Dow, and here the situation is that we're consolidating still around the 200-day line, the black line there, 42,300, and above that looking for late March resistance, 42,800. At this stage, possibly a little bit early to suggest that we are heading back to the best levels, to the record levels, at least until we can get back above a line of resistance, which I'm just trying to draw at the moment. That is from back in February, and I suppose you'd be looking for a break of 42,500 to then give the buy signal for a move up to the top of the range and record levels. Best case here, maybe later in the summer, if everything goes right, would be 46,800, the top of that red rising trend channel. You can see that actually we are just bouncing off the floor of that channel at 42,000. RSI 61, so in a decent place for further moves to the upside. Moving on to Bitcoin, and here you can see that we remain in this bull flag, and looking for this market to get up to the top of the rising trend channel from back in March last year. It's 120,000. In fact, it's a bit more than that, 122,000 now. We're giving it till the end of next month. It could potentially still be by the end of this month, but we need to see a breakthrough 106 pretty quickly, maybe over the weekend, in order to get there on time. Moving on to gold, where I think the market is perhaps a little more bearish about gold than it should be. But what is interesting here is that we got what we were looking for, which was a test of the 50-day line there, 31.55, and it bounced quite sharply from there. That also shows us that the trend channel there that we've been looking at since March is probably a little bit wider than we were expecting before, which just means it's taken longer to consolidate. But above that 50-day line, looking for 3,400 again. Best case by the end of next month now, probably up to 38 or even 3,900. But let's see how we go in terms of settling above 3,200. Moving on to the stocks, and starting off with a stock which is relatively obscure, and here we have Aeorema. Here you can see that we've gone through the 200-day line for the first time since December, and this time looks rather more convincing than the last, looking for 63 pence by the end of this month, while we remain above that 200-day moving average, and especially the old October support there at 50 pence. One of the stocks of the last few weeks has been Catenai, and still consolidating well. Basically the old resistance from January now becoming the new support at 0.4 pence and just below. The longer we stay above the second target we had there at 0.45, the greater the chance of a retest. Hopefully by the end of next month of the best levels of last month through 0.8 pence. We have a rather unlikely scenario, or rather unlikely stock rather, for the next one, which we're probably not expecting to do as well as it has, but Cirata is next, and here you can see that rapidly approaching the top of that falling trend channel there, 35p, that was the target once we were above 28, the initial target. So above 28.35, and obviously we've got the old December resistance there, just shy of 40 pence, which I suppose would be a decent end of May target. One of the better signals of success or future share price success is when a company raises money and the shares go up after the fundraise, and that's precisely what's happened here at Coinsilium. I think the fundraise at 3p, 1.25 million raised, and we've had a very sharp turnaround. Top of the channel, which we've always been looking for, to be fair, is 5.4 pence. Looking for that by the end of this month. Hopefully the way things are going by the end of next week, while we remain above that 50-day line, 3.1 pence. And I think the way things are shaping up at the moment with the money in the bank, looks as though Coinsilium could deliver rather more with its Bitcoin treasury strategy. Interesting situation at Craneware, where we are in a potential bid situation. The company looking at a possible offer from Bain Capital. What's interesting here, though, is that even though we didn't look at these shares previously, you can see there was a decent buy signal. Not only the bear trap rebound from below £17, so below the old October and March support, but also a gap close buy signal on the 28th of April. So that would have been around the 750, 760 areas in terms of an entry point, and obviously shares have not really looked back since. What will be interesting now to see whether we can get a break of £23 in terms of potential offer or potential price action there for the shares. But the upside here, valid for what it's worth, while we're above £21.20. Moving along to a stock which had a decent bit of news today, and here you can see that eEnergy has broken our original target there around 5.6 pence. Above that, we're looking for a fresh leg to the upside potentially by the end of next month, up to 8 pence, the upper parallel of that resistance line projection. Moving along to another situation which is, well, probably the situation of the year, one of the best calls ever here, and you can see we've just blown the doors off even on that very steep rising trend channel. In fact, it's quite difficult to work out how far and how high the channel is now, but potentially best guess at the moment is that we're heading for a new upgraded target, 65 pence, looking for that by the end of this month, while we remain above the floor of the channel there, around the 42 pence level. Obviously the message here is that the shares have been an almost vertical buy since 2 pence, when there was bullish divergence on the daily chart, and obviously the shares really have performed very well indeed. Moving along to a stock which perhaps hasn't performed quite as well as that yet, and that's Predator. What's interesting here today is the way that we're just pushing back above the 50-day line. Haven't been probably above that since January, so maybe there's just the first hint that the shares can get back up to the top of the recent range at 5 pence by the end of next month, while they're above the May support around 2.65 pence. Onto a stock which I don't think I gave a lot of coverage when it was down and out, but we had an original target here for Symphony around the 4.5 pence level, which obviously now looks rather quaint given recent news. What is interesting here is that we have the potential of a move up to the upper parallel of that rising trend channel, so as high as 11 pence by the end of this month, while we remain above recent support and resistance on the way down at 8 pence. A great turnaround there for Symphony after many years in the doldrum. Looking at Staffline next, and here we've gapped through the 50 and 200-day lines. The original target here was 35 pence. Above that, on an end-of-day close or a weekly close, looking for up to 46 or even 47 pence by the end of next month. But rather weird turnaround situation there, even though it was a bear trap gap reversal and an downfill gap to the upside back in February. On to Seed, which I cover occasionally and has been rather frustrating, but hopefully frustrations are over. Initial target here 1.8 pence. Above that rising trend channel base, looking for up to 2.4 pence by the end of next month. Maybe after nearly a year of consolidation, this is time for Seed to turn around, and we've also already got the 50 and 200-day lines rising, so maybe that is a sign and a signal. On to Rome Resources, which is not in alphabetical order, but I see the company's put out an interview this morning, Here you can see that we're very close to our resistance line target there at 0.32. Let's call it above that, looking for up to 0.5 pence at the top of that triangle formation in place, basically, since the company came to market. Obviously, the rally here started around 0.16, 0.17 was noted at the time on the basis of bullish divergence, and we've had the gap higher and the push through the 50-day line, now rising at 21 pence. And a reminder that both the 50 and 200-day lines are rising now, so the next time they touch, we can have a golden cross, and we're in the run-up to that, and that tends to be the strongest part of the cycle. Moving on to the last two after all that, and the first one is Smarter Web, which I'm really enjoying because even though there's hardly any charting data, shares seem to be behaving themselves. They found support at 15 pence, which is the first time we were looking at this, and the second time yesterday found support at 25 pence, and above 25 pence actually, looking for potentially the top of that rising trend channel from the beginning of the month, as high as 70 pence by the end of next month as a best case scenario target, but that's only if we stay above 25 pence. Finishing off with Trufin, and here you can see we've got a rising trend channel. We've broken out of that recent consolidation since the start of the year through the 50-day line. I suppose if you're fussy, you want to see the shares above 83 pence, but if we can do that, the next level up could be as high as the price channel top at 105 by the end of next month, and looking for that while we're above 75 pence and that broken red 2025 resistance line. That's it for me today. More updates over the weekend.